Okay, so in this video, I want to talk about the continued American strikes on Venezuelan boats off the coast of Venezuela. The government has, for a while now, since the beginning of the year, claimed that these are drug boats bringing drugs into the country. There's no proof of that. They might just very well be fishermen who are fishing and then get blown up by the U.S. military in an attack. But now it's happened again, and this time apparently there were survivors on board. And Secretary of War Pete Hegseth ordered that a second strike be launched and that the survivors be killed. And that's a big escalation because you're not supposed to do that. But let's cover this article and then I'll tell you what I think. U.S. lawmakers demand answers over Hegseth Venezuela boat strike claims. U.S. lawmakers are pressing the Trump administration for answers about military strikes on suspected Venezuelan drug boats after a report alleged that a follow-up strike was ordered to kill survivors of an initial attack. Republican-led committees overseeing the Pentagon have vowed to conduct a vigorous oversight into the U.S. boat strikes in the Caribbean. So on Friday, there was a reported strike on a U.S. boat on September 2nd, which left 2 survivors, but a second attack was carried out to comply with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's orders to kill everybody on board, raising fresh legality questions. Oh, and Hegseth says it's fake news, right? Okay, anything we don't like is fake. On Sunday, Trump said that he believed the defense secretary 100%. So in recent weeks, the U.S. has expanded its military presence in the Caribbean and carried out a series of strikes against suspected drug boats. More than 80 people have been killed since early September. That's just early September. That's not even all, considering all the prior strikes too. In its report on Friday, which has not been verified by the BBC, the Washington Post said that Secretary Hegseth gave a spoken directive to kill everybody on board one such a vessel, and a special operations commander overseeing the operation ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions. The Trump administration has sought to justify its operations in the Caribbean by saying it's a non-international armed conflict with alleged drug traffickers. The rules of engagement in such armed conflicts, as set out by the Geneva Conventions, forbid the targeting of wounded participants, saying that those participants should be apprehended or cared for. Yeah, it is different at sea compared to at land. And you can see a map of the various strikes. I think that article mostly does it. There's going to be a bipartisan investigation into these things, but I want to go to this justsecurity.org, and we can read about how international law says you deal with survivors of naval strikes. So the prohibition of ordering denial of quarter, which is what this was, or denying quarter, which is you don't take in a wounded enemy or you just kill a wounded enemy at sea. So assuming solely for the sake of discussion that there was a non-international armed conflict at the time of September 2nd, the most relevant law of armed conflict rule applicable to Hegseth and Bradley orders is the denial of quarter, an instruction not to allow survivors, which seems like it did happen. The status of the prohibition of denial of quarter and on ordering or threatening its denial was settled well over a century ago, is applicable in both international and non-international armed conflicts as a matter of customary international law. This is with respect to the status of a violation of the LOAC, entailing the responsibility of the state concerned, and as a war crime by the individuals issuing the orders to deny quarter or carrying them out. That means the people who ordered it and the actual soldiers who executed the order. We do not repeat here the major international, we do not need to repeat here the international text and tribunal decisions that supported the conclusion. One of us walked through all the relevant texts from the U.S. Civil War's Libre Code and present in 2023 essay concerning Kill Everyone order by the head of Russia's Wagner Group, Dmitry Prigozhin. So the Department of Defense Law of War Manual is categorical. It is prohibited to conduct hostilities on the basis that there shall be no survivors or to threaten the adversary with the denial of quarter. This rule is based on both humanitarian and military considerations. The manual further emphasizes that the rule also applies during non-international armed conflict, And the Trump administration has sought to justify its operations in the Caribbean by saying it's a non-international armed conflict. So apparently that doesn't seem to work. And the idea here is like, once you blow up an enemy ship and you sink it, the ship is no longer a threat. And if there's a few people holding onto the wreckage or in a lifeboat, those people are no longer a threat because they're essentially shipwrecked, right? They're drifting around in the ocean. Like there's no more threat coming from them. Now, if it's on land, there would still be a threat from someone who survives a strike. But in the sea, like that's it. Like legally, you can't kill any wounded survivors after a strike like that because they're shipwrecked. They can't do anything else to you. So it does seem like the strike ordered by Hexaf and by those who carried the strike out is illegal as a war crime. It really does seem like that. And this also ties into there's a recent video that was put out by a few different Democrats who have served in the military as well as in intelligence. And this essentially is a reminder that military personnel don't have to obey illegal orders. Illegal orders you don't have to obey because ultimately your loyalty is to the Constitution, to the rule of law, rather than the president or a commander. But let's watch this video that generated so much controversy.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military,
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
Come on, Twitter.
Must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Okay. Don't give up the ship, which I believe is like a naval quote. And it's really not a big deal, right? All they're saying is you don't have to follow illegal orders. And I believe when you're in the military, I never served, but as I understand it, they drill that into your head. Like, yeah, you follow orders, but the orders have to be legal. And if you receive an illegal order, not only can you, but it's your duty not to follow it, right? I believe there was in World War II, there was a German U-boat that like sunk an Allied ship, and then it launched a second strike that killed the survivors of the ship. And that was deemed illegal in the trials after the war ended. And I believe the U-boat commander was killed for it, right? So it's like, we state that this is our principle, right? We're opposed to striking shipwrecked sailors who are no longer a threat, but then we go and do it ourselves. Like, come on. And then there's a reason why this came out at this time is because it seems like a lot of what we're doing with these Venezuelan boat strikes are illegal, but yet they're still happening because people are still following these orders. So this is just a reminder that we don't have to do it if it's actually an illegal order. Yeah, and this generated so much controversy, and you have people saying, what's the penalty for committing sedition? Oh, sweet sedition. Just shut up. Oh my God. It's like, and then like people have been framing this as if Democrats are saying you don't have to listen to orders at all, or you don't have to listen to the president. No, it's just illegal orders. That's it. They learn this. People in the military learn this when they're being trained. Anyway, this also then led to the Pentagon threatening to prosecute Senator Mark Kelly by recalling him to Navy service. By recalling him to Navy service, he can then like be court-martialed, I guess. The Pentagon says he received serious allegations of misconduct. Trump has accused Kelly and other Democrats of seditious behavior, and the Trump administration has purged top generals. So, you know, he didn't like what they said. Now he wants to go after them for their speech, is essentially what that comes down to. But I do want to talk about the effect of us going into an actual like war with Venezuela would have. And it is true that the U.S. military is much stronger than the Venezuelan military, and we're pretty close to them. But the thing here is that Venezuela's win condition is much easier for them to achieve than our win condition is. Because essentially, for us to win, it's not enough to just strike Venezuelan like military targets, political, economic targets, and hit cartels and like do damage to them, because they can always just rebuild. Our win condition is essentially removing Nicolas Maduro from power. And if we're not able to do that via bombing, either we have to give up and say that we couldn't do it, or we then have to commit troops on the ground, which is an even further escalation, which will lead to Americans dying, and which will be unpopular. And if we can't even achieve that with boots on the ground, if the Maduro government is able to remain in power, then they will have won. Even if their country is damaged from our strikes, if Maduro stays in power, essentially that's a victory for him, right? He got what he wanted. He's still in power. And think about how that looks to other countries, right? Imagine if we can't even beat Venezuela in our own backyard. What will that say to Russia? It will say that, the US is weak and I can just keep invading Ukraine because they're not going to do anything to stop me. What will that do to China? China will say, oh, it looks like the US isn't very effective. It looks like they can't win right now. And then China's then even more likely to want to invade Taiwan because they think they'll be able to get away with it if the US won't respond back. Because having a strong US is a deterrent from other countries engaging in their own military action. And it just seems like if we commit to these strikes and like on actually striking Venezuelan targets in Venezuela, and we're not able to remove the Maduro regime, then it's going to make us look really bad, not just at home, but internationally as well. And that will lead to our adversaries like Russia and China continuing to, and maybe doing even more worse things with their own militaries, because it will look like the US and the West in general won't stand up for our values. We say we care about international law, but then we break international law. We look like complete hypocrites. Why would anyone take us seriously? So it's probably for the best if we just don't attack Venezuela in the first place. And look, I don't like Maduro. I think he stole the election from his people a few years ago. I think he's been a bad leader for Venezuela, but you can't just, do regime change via bombings and think that's going to successfully work out. Like, there's a good chance it's not going to work, and that it will only further empower Maduro even more. But hey, that's what I think. We'll have to see how it goes, Will we strike them? Will we not? Will we commit troops on the ground? Will we not? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, it is Trump. His brain is like, he believes whatever the last person told him. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how this develops. Hopefully for the best between our two countries. But with Trump in charge, I really just doubt it. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.